Hey, everybody, what's up? Hope you guys are doing good out there. This week has been a busy one for me, but also a really great one. I actually didn't get home last night until about 3:30 a.m. because I was driving back from LA, so I'm a little tired. If I think about it, I'm feeling fortunate to have made it home because I was caught up in that very real battle of trying to stay awake when you're driving, a battle of alertness, if you will. But I made it safe and sound, and I'm about to share this chat with you guys that I had with a former Navy SEAL turned enthusiastic promoter of performing acts of kindness. He tells us about his unconventional 6 year journey to becoming a SEAL, the events that led him to where he is now, and where he hopes to take it in the future. So, with that, here's my conversation with Kevin Kirk. Thank you for coming over here.
Thank you for having me.
Let's talk about you. I want to hear about how you got to this awesome nonprofit that you're doing, but let's start with the fact that you are a former Navy SEAL.
Yes, I am.
Yeah, give me the story.
Yeah, so I was born and raised in Bethel, Connecticut. Small little American hometown. Kind of grew up in a great household. My father was a former boot camp instructor, so kind of grew up with a good amount of discipline there. And then one of my first memories is I was probably about 6 years old, and I was sleeping. It was probably like a Saturday, maybe 8 o'clock in the morning, and all of a sudden my dad knocks on the door. He's like, you're gonna start delivering papers today. Yeah, I mean, he started us young.
I was not that accomplished at 6.
Yeah, it was good stuff though. It taught me a lot of good life lessons.
Yeah.
And that paper route was actually passed down from my oldest brother Ryan. So my brother did it for about maybe 4 years, then passed it down to my other brother Tim, and then he passed it down to me. But it's kind of a surprise.
Yeah.
But it gave us a good amount of discipline at a young age that I think obviously translates as you get older.
Sure.
And I started swimming at a very young age, so I was very comfortable in the water. And then high school as a wrestler. I loved kind of combat sports, boxing, kickboxing, things like that. I was able to get in the ring at a young age, which is a great experience. And then went to Southern Connecticut State University and studied sociology with minor in criminal justice. My initial goal was to go FBI, CIA. And then one morning, I get a knock on the door, and it's my buddy, and he's like, you have no idea what's going on right now, do you? And I said, no. And he turned on the TV, and it was the two towers going down.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that changed my direction. I wanted I want a faster route over there. So I did some research and decided right there and then that I wanted to be a Navy SEAL, and started busting my ass in the gym, in the pool, and got in shape. I remember telling my parents about it, and I remember I was sitting on the the little kitchen counter, and I told my mom, what I want to do, and she goes, just promise me that you'll graduate college first. So I, since it's Mother's Day, bringing her up, giving her love, Janet Kirk, you're awesome. And yeah, I busted my butt, and I graduated, and tried to sign up to become a Navy SEAL. You go through some physical testing, things like that.
Yeah,
So
I was going to say, what are the requirements? I'm not even really aware.
Yeah, so I mean, you do what's called a PST. So that's a 500-yard swim. Then it's followed by 2 minutes of push-ups, 2 minutes of sit-ups, as many pull-ups as you can do, and then a 1.5 mile run. So you have to get, I don't even know what the minimums are, but in order to even get accepted, you have to do some sort of minimum. I think it's not that hard. But if you're just getting the minimums, you're never going to make it. So
Yeah.
to kind of my scores. This is not like a bragging thing. It's just, so the listeners can kind of get a gauge of where I was at that time. So I was doing a 500-yard swim, which is a side stroke, which is a combat swimmer stroke, in 7 minutes and 43 seconds. And then 2 minutes of push-ups. I would usually do around like 107. And then sit-ups, I'd probably do around 110. And then pull-ups, I'd probably do somewhere around 25. And then 1.5 mile run, and right around 9 minutes. So that's competitive scores. Like if you're putting up those type of scores, you have a good shot just to make it through the program.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. Anyway, so one of the prerequisites before you actually get into the military is you have to pass a physical, right? So they gave me a color vision test during this physical, and I failed. So
Oh, like colorblind?
color deficient
Color
to be
deficient.
technical. Yeah, I can see every color in this room.
Oh,
But
oh, interesting.
yeah, so it was, the way I kind of explained it is they have like their gold standard, and their gold standards is actually more strict than real life.
Hmm.
So I didn't agree with it. And at the time, they basically told me that I couldn't be a SEAL. So this is back in the very beginning of the internet. So I did some search. It was probably like Yahoo or AOL back then. But
Classic.
exactly, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I found a really good color vision specialist down in Maryland. So I drove from Connecticut down there and took his color vision test, for probably 2 hours. And I passed a lot of his tests. So I took those results to my SEAL mentor, and I, showed him, that I can see color. Like, this is documentation from a guy that does this for a living. It's a specialty. And he said, great, we'll get you retested. Got me retested again, and I failed. So, they're kind of like, hey, you gotta move on at that point. But once again, I didn't take no for an answer. And the way that mentorship worked was, it was a retired SEAL, and he might call us up at, Friday night at, 10 p.m. and just say, hey, show up at this time tomorrow, 6 a.m. tomorrow, and we're going to clean up, an old World War II veteran's house. And, you need these supplies and stuff like that. I'll see you then. And, it's kind of a test to see how much you wanted it, how dedicated you were. Cause, when you're 20 years old, a Friday night is pretty important to you.
That's
But,
true.
it's kind of testing your dedication in a different way before, you can actually even get a shot at the program, which I think is awesome. So I continued to do those type of events, regardless of the fact that they said that I could or could not do that, be a SEAL. And I did that for probably about 2 years. And, one day I got a phone call from him, and he said, all right, I told a couple people about your stories, or, like how dedicated you are. And we want to see what your physical scores are. So I took the PST, which I just told you about, did very well. So I had a waiver for color vision about 2 days later. So that gave me my first shot at getting to SEAL training. And yeah, long story short, I got to boot camp. First thing they did was give me a color vision test, of course, and I failed.
Just
Yeah,
following you everywhere.
exactly. So, but I have this little golden ticket. I have a waiver for it.
Great.
That's signed off and all that. So I kept going, even though I failed. And then they have what's called a dive physical, which is a little bit further down the line for during your boot camp. And with this, they're testing your heart, they're testing the pressure in your ears, to figure out if you can dive at depth and things like that. And once again, they want to see color vision, and I failed once again. Except this time, they wanted to actually kind of check my ability to practically see it. So he basically just said, hey, just name every single color that you can in this room. And I did that for about 20 minutes and named every color on his ribbon set, all that thing, like, minute colors in the room. And he said, all right, you're good to go. And he signed off that I was good for BUD/S training, which is SEAL training. And long story short, that guy retired 3 days before I was set to graduate boot camp. And all of my orders, somebody else came in, all of my orders, all my, my waivers, all that stuff was all canceled because they didn't agree with what happened because I couldn't pass that formal test. So without even talking to me, my whole dream, kind of went down the drain at the time. And I was able to get out of the military on a breach of contract. It was kind of saying that the Navy was not recognizing a pre-recognized medical condition. So I was broke at that time. So I moved down to West Palm Beach. My buddy was living down there with his father, and his father was nice enough to give me a room there while I kind of got on my feet. And I was, waiting tables down at. Have you ever been to Brio?
No.
No, it's an Italian restaurant. Pretty awesome. Great chain.
Sounds good.
Yeah, really good Italian restaurant. And yeah, I was working there for about 6 months, and then it was a beautiful Sunday, kind of like today. there was probably about 10 women that walked in. It was a little like bachelorette brunch type deal. And it was myself and three other male waiters. And all of these women were like done up to the nines. They were beautiful women, all that. And, we were serving them. And all of a sudden, it was kind of a break in that time. And I look at the guys and go, hey, how many of these women do you think are dating waiters? And nobody said anything. And I said, all right, it's time for me to get my 2 weeks. And that's no offense to waiters, obviously, but it's kind of a turning point for that.
You found a little motivation through
I
that.
did.
Yeah.
It's all about what drives you in life, And
Yeah.
I'm not saying that that's what drives me necessarily.
But it's a piece.
It is a piece. So from that point, I moved up to New York City. I lived with my brother Tim down Hoboken, New Jersey, and I started doing personal training over at. Have you heard of Crunch Gym?
Yeah.
Yep. So I did that for about 3 years, but then I wanted to obviously I was still chasing the SEAL dream. So I got a congressional inquiry as to what happened, during my situation, because I wasn't given answers right away. And obviously find out that the doctor had retired, but it was kind of too late, a little too late. They couldn't fight for him anymore. So what I started doing was I started doing fundraising for the Navy SEAL Foundation. So I started doing long endurance events. So it started out, I think I started with maybe a half marathon, and I would raise money for the Navy SEAL Foundation. Then I went up to a marathon. I was like, all right, let's get into triathlons. So then I did the half Ironman, and then I did the full Ironman. And are you familiar with those?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So just for the listeners, it starts out with a 2.4 mile swim, and then a 112-mile bike ride, and then it finishes with a full 26.2 marathon. And like I said, with each one of those, I'd raise money for the foundation. I did that for about 3 or 4 years. Started doing, ultra marathons as well. Did a 50K in Vermont.
Did a 5K. I was real proud of myself.
Hey, it's all relative, So
Yeah.
but I enjoyed it. I loved it. And I did that for about 4 years. And then I got an email one day, and I couldn't see who it was from. It was kind of a black box, which is a good sign. And it was just saying, hey, we've been following your story. We know that you're still supporting the community, even though right now they're telling you that you can't be a part of it. And we want to get you retested for your color vision. So I showed up to this facility in Connecticut. And, at this time I'd kind of learned the ropes a little bit, and, kind of thought outside the box on how to beat the system a little bit. So I showed up early. I showed up about an hour early, and I check in. The guy checking me in was probably an E1, which is brand new to the military, like first probably 6 months in the military. So I see him and kind of explained to him my story. And I said, can you just tell me who's going to be testing me today? And he looked at the little sheet, and he said, oh, it's going to be myself and officer so-and-so. Like, sweet, I'm talking to the right person.
Right.
So I basically just asked him, hey, this is my story. This is what I'm trying to do. And I named all the colors in the room, just like I had another test to show him like I was capable of seeing colors, and just asked him to do me a favor. I knew that he stood behind the officer, so he can see the colors that I'm supposed to say. And I just said, put out 1 finger for red, 2 for white, 3 for green. That's all I need to know. And, if you see me stumble, just do those little finger movements. And we did that, kind of cheated my way in. But,
What an odd thing that's like the one little thing that was in your way, though.
Yeah,
A strange little small thing. With most people, it seems like it'd be like a physical
exactly
aspect of
But
everything
that
else.
took me 6 years to go around.
Wow.
Yeah,
You really wanted it.
I did. I always say like it wasn't a goal to become a Navy SEAL, and I'm not going to talk about being a Navy SEAL too much, but it's just part of the story where I'm at now. And I always say it's not a goal; it was a calling. And you don't give up on a calling. It was worth every bit of the struggle and things like that. I learned so much about myself through those years of not kind of being told no.
Yeah.
So no complaints on my end. And so got to BUDS, which is Navy SEAL training, and I'm not going to go into that too much, but made it through, and then reported out to the East Coast teams over in Virginia Beach. Did that until probably about late 2014 and got out. But when I returned from Afghanistan in 2013, I returned home to my hometown, Bethel, Connecticut, and my brother Ryan passed away when I was home. So, not to go into too many details here, but I went to wake him up, and he had passed away. So
Oh my God.
yeah, he had been a heavy drinker till he was 32 years old. He passed away at 36. So he left 4 years of sobriety as his legacy, and it was absolutely amazing to like see the man that he had become
Sure.
through those years of sobriety. And one of his favorite things to do was to give back to others. When it was time for us to remember him at his service, we asked others to do an act of kindness, just like he had done. And we set up a little Facebook memorial page called Letters for Ryan. We just said, hey, like when you do your act of kindness, whether it's, going to Starbucks and buying somebody coffee, paying it forward, things like that, just tell us what you did on his site. And within 24 hours, these amazing stories started popping up left and right. It was, it was so beautiful to see. And that went on for about 2 months. And then, you start to see the activity decline, as people move on with their lives as they should.
Hmm.
And for myself, I was terrified, absolutely terrified that my brother's work was done. And I just worked with my brother and his fiance at the time, now wife, Paige. And we just kind of brainstormed on ways to keep this going. Like, how do we take the inspiration that Ryan left us? My brother's name was Ryan Kirk. And how do we keep that going? And what we came up with was a coin that's passed for acts of kindness. So like I said, if you go to a Starbucks, you would go in there and just say, hey, next person that orders a medium coffee today, I want to pay for it. Just do me a favor and pass them on this coin. So the way it works is that if you went to Starbucks, you would, like I said, if I went in there before you and did that, you would walk in, order your medium coffee like you always do. Except today you would find out that it's for free, and they would pass you on a coin. So on the back of that coin, it leads you to makeawave.com, and then there's a serial number on that coin. So you type in that serial number and you learn what message that coin carries. So what we wanted to develop initially was a way for anybody that passes on to be remembered. So, say you lose your great great grandmother, and you want her remembered through acts of kindness, you would create a little profile for her, which is connected to the coin. And you would, say what she lived for, what her passions were, things like that. And then whoever you pass that on to learns about them. And not only that, but it creates an act of kindness chain in their name. So it's pretty beautiful. So it started out, like I said, with as a way to remember lost loved ones. But then as we kind of started and kind of had a website going up and things like that, we realized that there's so many different other uses for it. So I had a friend, Amy Clark, in Virginia Beach, and she reached out to me when she heard about it. And she's good. She basically told me that she wants to teach her kids, her students, about kindness through these coins. So the way it works in her class is that every week it gets passed from one student to the next. And what's really cool is, I don't know, do you remember like when it was your birthday in elementary school and it was like your day?
Yeah.
So
Everybody
she
participated. And you felt
exactly
really special. Yeah.
exactly, and she says that that's exactly how it is with this coin,
Oh, that's cool.
which is just such a beautiful thing. So
Hmm.
I think that coin has been passed down about 21 times, and then we have a coin down in Texas started by Nikki Wheeler. So their coin is a little bit different. Like that's what's really cool about this is each coin can work in a different way. It can change the world for the better and carry a different message. So for their coin, the way it works is it gets passed from class to class, but the actual act of kindness goes into the community. So say I was a teacher, and it got passed to me, I would gather my students up and say, hey, this is how the coin works. It's passed for acts of kindness, and it's our turn to do an act of kindness to the community. So everybody would brainstorm on, a way to kind of like help the community. And they would do, it's basically the kids run the whole thing, and they organize it, they plan it, they make little flyers around school. It's so awesome.
Oh,
So
that's cool. It gives them some ownership of it.
exactly. It
Hmm.
teaches them leadership skills
Yeah.
at a very young age, because that's essentially what it is.
Hmm.
And they would perform the act of kindness, and then we would pass it on to another class, and then they would do the exact same thing and help the community and things like that. So that coin was started down there a few months ago, and it started out, I think the first passing They gathered up belongings, like toothbrushes, soap, things like that, and they donated it to I don't know if this is proper term here, but like an old folks home,
Yeah.
and then pass it on to another class. And the other class decided to do a food drive, a school-wide food drive, and they wound up raising 1,100 pounds of food.
Wow.
Yeah, and they donate to a homeless shelter and then pass it on to another class. So it's like
That's amazing. That's real impact.
truly it is. You're not talking about a $20 tip anymore.
Yeah.
You're talking about
Really
truly,
affecting people.
yeah, on a macro level. So just to see the possibility, and we're just getting started. So we just had a bank. I'm not going to say their name because I haven't gotten approval through them, but they just bought 500 coins. Yeah, and they're going
It's
to be,
amazing.
yeah, so they're going to get that started in 500 different classrooms for that same type of project. So
That's so cool.
it's
I
really
love that it's something tangible.
exactly, yeah,
You know what I mean? Like that tangible, like, and also people love to track things.
exactly, yeah,
Like,
yep,
it makes it almost a little bit extra fun for them. And then having something physical is also kind of a reminder. 'Cause I've had
exactly.
people do like small kind of kindnesses for me.
Mhm.
Sometimes you enjoy it for a little bit, but sometimes you just forget that maybe you should do something like that too. So it's
Yeah,
almost an extra reminder that, like,
hmm
hey, I gotta remember that good thing that happened to me. Let me go ahead and share that with somebody else.
exactly. Yeah, and
Mm-hmm.
our slogan is "Why make a ripple when you can make a wave?" So
That's
you
great.
always hear like a ripple of kindness, right? Like one act can lead to a much larger wave. So we kind of took that, and we actually want to show people because you can, if you get past the coin, you see everywhere that coin has been. Like there's a map. There's actually a map that shows you, and you can track it. And then every single time that coin gets passed on, it continues that story. So it might show, like I said, a picture of a receipt with like a $20 tip or things like that, or it might be a picture of students kind of doing acts of kindness to the community. So it really takes a concept of doing one act that leads to another, and actually proves it. So
Yeah.
it's a beautiful thing.
It's a really great use of social media,
Exactly.
really, that sharing. And also it just feels like we're inundated with kind of negative news.
Hmm.
Like I don't really watch the news for the most part. I kind of check
Yeah.
in on some of the bigger things that happen, but I don't watch it because it's a bunch of depressing stuff. They
Yeah.
very rarely want to share with you kind of some of the good things that are happening. And or either that or it's superficial news.
Hmm.
It's about people that are
Yeah.
rich and they're doing
Kim
things.
Kardashian.
It's
Yeah.
it's the height of that, right?
Exactly.
And that's not reality. It's
No.
not reality. And when you are kind of buried in that kind of information all the time, you start to think that maybe most people out there are, I don't know, either they have like negative intent or, like you think like everything, like the world is bad
Exactly.
things happen in the world.
Yep.
And it's not the mentality to have because I think most people are good. Most people want to do good.
For sure.
And we have to kind of step outside of those sources of information to remind ourselves of that. Most
Yeah.
people around us are good people,
Yeah.
and
And it's
hopefully we're
tough.
trying to be good people, and it's those little things sometimes that can really change somebody's day.
Yeah. And social media is tough. Like if I were to, we'll just say go out and leave $100 tip for a waiter and, take a picture of it and upload that as a Facebook post, you'd get people that like it, but then you'd also probably get some haters. It'd be like, why did you have to post that? Things like that. The thing I love is that you're actually like, yeah, it might be, say the coin represents my brother. I'm doing an act of kindness, but I'm actually doing it in the name of something much bigger than myself. And I think that's the beauty of it. I think that's
Hmm.
what is kind of like a game changer, where it teaches people it's okay to be kind. Because we're doing it something so much bigger than what we've ever done it for.
Yeah, it's a
Um,
whole different level of satisfaction to do something in the name of or for somebody else
yeah,
than from yourself. Anytime you can take yourself away from you,
yeah,
sometimes
and it's a good thing. Like
it's a good thing.
yeah,
It's very refreshing.
but what we just started doing was working with nonprofits to help spread their message through these coins. So what we'll do is say we meet with say a breast cancer foundation. We'll take their whole brand message and encapsulate it in a Make Way profile, and then start a campaign where all their volunteers do an act of kindness and spread the coins that, like I said, encapsulate their brand message. So say this coin were to get past you would go to makewave.com, type in the serial number, and you would learn all about breast cancer. So we're actually teaching people now through these coins.
That's
So
great.
you would get signs, symptoms, how to test yourself. Like I said, so we're actually, our goal is to help in a case like that is to actually help spread fight the spread of cancer through the spread of kindness. There we go.
Nice.
But yeah, so like I said, we just started working with these nonprofits. So it's a great thing.
Yeah, it's amazing. I love the idea. Now, how did you even learn how to put together a nonprofit and develop all of this? What was the process of even starting this for you on the kind of the business end of it, getting everything functioning and building a team?
Yeah, it's a great question. I had no idea.
Yeah.
Obviously, I had a great knowledge base of military leadership and things like that, but this whole thing kind of came to me as I was getting out, as I was transitioning out. So the first thing I did was look up, YouTube videos on how to build mock websites. I had this idea in my head of how the coin would work, how it would, obviously carry a message and things like that. But how do you articulate that to somebody? How do you show somebody? Because it started out with a 32-minute speech on how it worked and things like that, and people loved it, but they couldn't help me because I couldn't show them anything.
Yeah.
So I watched some YouTube videos and actually learned how to build like mock websites. So it wasn't anything professional, but they could actually see something now. And I got a little bit more resources through that. And then during a drive from Virginia Beach to here in California, long story short, my car broke down and I had my dog with me and I had a bunch of make wave coins in the back. It was in the middle of the desert and I was like, shoot, I was like, if my dog runs away right now, like I'm kind of screwed. Like he's not going to get found because the information on his tag was outdated.
Mm,
So, like the address wasn't the same, things like that. And I was like, shoot, I was like, what if I drill a hole through these make wave coins, put it on his tag, and then if he gets lost, they type in the serial number and they learn all about my dog at that point, like what allergies he has, how to contact me.
I love that your mind has gone to dog safety in this time of your.
Exactly. Yeah. I got a crazy mind. It is what it
No, I
is.
mean I got dogs. I understand.
Yeah.
I understand.
So, so that sparked a whole different idea. And I kind of developed that through the ride, probably a 3-day ride. And when I got here in California, there was a Google startup contest going on. So I pitched it there. And the way that worked is there's probably about 50 ideas that got pitched and they choose the top 10 that I think, has potential. And if you're chosen as a top 10, you actually get to build like a small team. So myself and two others kind of built out that concept for the weekend. And then they have a little, kind of a judge, contest at the end. And we wound up taking first place. So thanks to them, I was able to kind of build that idea. But the whole reason I was there was to actually see if this was a good way to build Makewave. So I met with the software engineer, Robert, who kind of built out the pet tag company concept for the weekend. I said, hey, like I know we're developing this. We've developed this for the last 2 days, 3 days, but I actually want to tell you about something else that's very, near and dear to my heart. And I showed him kind of the mock website that I had built for Makewave. And, prior to this, I had gotten the concept quoted by software engineer firms and things like that. And they were giving me a quote of probably around like $45,000 to $80,000 to build this site.
Okay, that's a lot.
That is a lot. That's out of a soldier's budget.
Oh yeah.
So I
Many
knew
people's
exactly.
budgets.
Yeah. So I knew that wasn't a realistic way to get it up and running. So I had about $8,000 that I was willing to pay him for it and told him that. And like I said, walked him through the website. And by the time we were done, he said, I won't accept a dime. I'll build it for free.
Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah. So that was when you talk about building a team. That was my first team member.
It's great. Makes you feel like you're on the right path too, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, it's. I mean, literally, that is Makewave.
Yeah.
Like that is the act of kindness that he did to me and my family. I'm not going to get teary eyed here, but but it, so then myself and Robert, we meet every week. And at the time we were meeting on Thursdays and we would go to a Starbucks and we would pass it on. We would pay it forward at the Starbucks and pass on the coin because we wanted to see how people reacted. Like what were people's reaction? Did they put it in their pocket? Did they go to the site right then and there? Like how powerful is this? Because we think it's great. We think it's amazing, but like, reality, you need to actually prove it.
Sure.
So one day we paid forward a medium coffee, and a guy walked in with his girlfriend. Obviously he was passed forward the coin, given a free coffee, and we watched him. And it's amazing to see. So he was given the coin, and right away, he looks at the back, takes out his phone, and goes to the site. And this coin was actually in the name of my grandma at the time, Rita Ryan. And we see him like just scrolling through his phone, going through it. Maybe a couple of minutes goes by, and we kind of pull him over. We just said, "Hey, like we're actually developing this. We want to get some feedback from you. Was it clear? Basically the user experience. How was it? This was years, not years, probably about a year ago, where we really didn't know where we were at yet, development wise." And he said, "Yeah, it was a little confusing at the time. We gave him my email information, and he just said that he'll kind of tell us more about feedback, the feedback that he had and things like that." So within 24 hours, he sent me an email, and it was like 3 pages of feedback. So the
Which
coin,
means he cared because he actually
exactly,
took his
he
time.
was
People
moved.
don't take time like that.
Exactly. So we wound up giving the coin to a user experience expert. So, which is perfect. Like I said, everything happens for a reason,
Absolutely.
and he was the second team member. And then a graphic design artist out of my hometown heard about the project. So she was the third member. So, everybody's donating their time. No, like we haven't made any money. It's not about that for us. We're just trying to change the world as much as we can for the better. So it's such a fun project.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's so funny. I mean, I think we forget how these little things we do every day can really affect somebody.
Mm-hmm.
You know, even if it's just like random compliments.
Exactly.
I've experienced that too, like you're out, I've been having a bad day, and then even somebody just that I don't know says something nice to me out of nowhere, and then it just changes my whole mood.
Mm-hmm.
Changes my whole
For sure.
mood.
Yeah, it doesn't take much.
We're just all people walking
Exactly.
around
Yeah.
passing each other all day. We should be a little bit nicer.
Yeah, we like I said, I always kind of carry a coin with me wherever I go,
Yeah.
just in case there's a opportunity to pass one on. And I grabbed an Uber last night, and I was just talking with him. Great guy, telling me kind of his story, where he's from, things like that. And
Yeah, they
just
feel like therapy sessions sometimes in those
exactly,
Ubers.
yeah.
Do you feel that, or is that just me?
It's cheap therapy for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah, it's like a $8 therapy session.
Yeah, it's great.
But I was talking with him. Like I said, I got to hear his story. And by the end, I was like, you know what? I want to pass on my coin to him. So I gave him, a tip, and I kind of told him about Make a Wave, real brief synopsis of it. And you can see it in people's eyes when they get it, when they realize that it's now their turn to pass this on, and they get to make somebody else's day, just like I just made his day. And I was walking out, and the last words he said to me was, "I needed this." And that I was like, that's
jogs them out of their routine.
Exactly.
And gives them a little bit of a purpose in that moment. Like they're looking for a moment to do something nice at that point.
Yep. I mean, I remember when my brother passed away, it was, obviously we were doing the acts of kindness in his name, but I was getting so much out of it. I remember my brother Tim and I went down to Austin, Texas, and we went to like an IHOP, late night, and the same type of thing. We connected with a waitress that was there, and she was telling us kind of her life story, and she was not in a good spot. You could tell, she hate her job.
Yeah.
Her manager was, not a good person. We met the manager, like we saw.
And you were like, I get it.
I get it. Yeah, exactly. I've been there, and it's not about money. So I don't want to talk about these acts of kindness like they always have to be associated with money. But we left her $100 tip, and we walked out. Like I said, at the time we didn't have coins. What we were doing were we would take the receipt, and we would write my brother's URL for his Facebook page on the receipt and just say, "Please share your story." So that's really how this all started, was just through that simple ability to kind of keep it going.
Yeah.
And I remember like we just left, like you feel good about yourself when you make somebody else's day. So we were walking out, and she runs out and she gives us a big hug, and like she was crying, and it just, it's amazing. It's amazing to, like I said, to actually make somebody else's day is very, like, that's why we're here. You learn it as you use a Make a Wave coin. Like that's really why we're here. And there's only one thing better than actually doing the act of kindness, is watching that coin be passed again. And it's like this little thing that you may have started or passed on, actually just made somebody else's day, even though you were not even involved. You just got dinged on your phone that that coin was passed on. Yeah, I mean, I looked at how I was planning on remembering my brother, and we looked at starting a scholarship, and it was super expensive and a
Yeah.
lot of work, and you got to put together a board and
Sure.
all that, and you could buy a star in the sky in his name, which is a couple $100, which
Is it really?
yeah, it's
Wow.
ridiculous. It's a scam, and we were just like, hey, we have to create something new, and like there's a saying in the SEAL teams that if you complain about something 3 times, it's now your job to fix it. And I remember I was like, there's nothing out there. It's too expensive. And before I knew it, it's 3 times, and that little light bulb went off,
Hmm.
and it was like, all right, let's figure
That's
this
great.
out.
It's like there's reasons and then they turn to excuses and then things
Yeah,
don't happen. That's a good
and like I said,
mentality.
my brother left us greatest gift that you can through death, which is inspiration.
Yeah.
Um, like I said, he left us that paying it forward mentality. Yeah, he made it. It was it was a tragic death, obviously,
Hmm.
but he made it easy for us, through the legacy that he left us.
That's
So
incredible.
yeah.
What seems to be coming next for you guys?
So we're gonna start doing little volunteer groups. We did some beta testing over at SDSU, and we kind of gave them a blank slate. We told them how it worked, told them that it's almost like a message in a bottle, except that message is passed through acts of kindness rather than waves, and just said, we want to see what you guys come up with. And what we realized is that a lot of them were raising awareness to nonprofits. So we're gonna have a beach cleanup over in OB, Ocean Beach, San Diego. And the way it's going to work is, people might say we get 20 people, for example. We'll show up, clean up the beach. Everybody walks, in a direction for 20 minutes and just pick up as much trash as you can. Then when you come back, we're going to give them a coin, and they'll go do an act of kindness and pass that on. So for that person that receives the coin, they're going to learn all about ocean pollution. So it's going to raise awareness for the problem that we're trying to solve for that specific month. Each month it's going to change. So
Oh, that's very cool.
yeah,
It creates a
and
focus.
exactly, yeah.
Hmm.
So if you were given that coin, you might learn all about ocean pollution, but then it actually challenges you to go pick up, say, 5 pieces of trash close to the beach. So we're actually using these coins to actually help solve problems. So that might be for October, but then in January we might do a homelessness awareness, where the challenge is to give a homeless person a sandwich, or a gift card, things like that, like make their day.
Yeah.
And what I love about it is, and over time, this is all it's all theory right now, but I want to see if people that are low, say you're homeless and you're down and out, if you're given this act of kindness in a way to be kind to somebody else, will they pass on the coin?
Yeah.
Because they're doing acts of kindness too. They want to feel good too.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I love it. It's my baby.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It seems like it's already doing incredible things, but it's got amazing potential to be something so much bigger
exactly.
too. I can see how that would grow. That's
Yeah, and
incredible.
if
It's incredible.
listeners want to get involved, Kevin Kirk at makewave.com, we're looking for volunteers. Like I said, we're brand new. It's literally just a concept right now.
Yeah.
But I think within probably a year, I think we can really make a dent.
And it's a very simple thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very simple thing to do, and it's a way to make yourself feel good too.
Exactly.
Am I correct in noticing? Do you also like have an apparel line?
Yeah, yeah. So
Tell me about that.
so it's called paythemanapparel.com. So in the military, the first time that I ever heard the phrase "pay the man," I was at boot camp, and we had just messed up. I can't remember what we just messed up, but the instructors walked in and they're like, "Oh, you guys want to mess around? You guys want to, mess things up? Well, you guys are about to pay the man." We're like, "Oh shoot, that doesn't
What
sound
does
good.
that
That does
mean?
not sound like a good
No,
time."
it sounds stressful.
So yeah, so we paid the man. It was basically working out as hard as you can. It was a punishment. Like we push ups, sit ups, up and downs, all that type of thing, for probably like 2 or 3 hours. And we went to bed soaked. Yeah. And
You're paying yourself with fitness.
exactly.
Did I
Well,
get it?
that's you're on it. You're on it. You get it. So that's the first time I heard it. Now that was probably week 2 of boot camp. all of a sudden week 4 comes in. The instructors are, they're a little bit more open to develop a relationship. So they walk in and it's, we're about to go work out and they're like, all right, guys, let's go pay the man. And it was a different tone this time. We're like, all right. And
Sounds positive this time.
Exactly. So we paid the man and it was a very positive thing. And all the time, it was always a really, really good workout, one that really pushed us mentally and physically. And then once I got, into the special forces community, it could be used anyway. Like if I was going to get my graduate degree right now, I might just say, hey, I'm gonna go pay the man at the library. Like it all has to do with investing in yourself, taking that positive action. That's not always easy, but once you do it, like I said, you're investing in yourself. You're paying the man, and it's gender neutral, even though it's the man. It's not about man or woman or anything like that. It's about you. So yeah, we started that, and then also started another military lifestyle brand called Earn Your Patch. So in the military, you wear a patch on your shoulder that essentially says what you do in the military, how long you've been in, and it tells your story. It essentially tells you what you've earned. What have you done in the military? And we loved that, so we created kind of a motivational lifestyle brand around that. And yeah, it's going great. We've probably been going for about 6 months now, but really kind of finding our niche and things like that. And yeah, I mean, you know the deal. Like
I know the deal.
You can have a great concept, but it's like, how do we find our customers? So we're still figuring that out. But yeah, it's definitely rocking and rolling now.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And where can people find all of this stuff?
So earnyourpatch.com, and then paythemanapparel.com, and Make-A-Wave is obviously makeawave.com. But yeah, I built a website, so they're still growing.
Yeah.
Hopefully one day we can pay somebody else to do that so I can, relax a little bit. But
I hear you.
Yeah. Until then, I'll keep paying the man.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Well, thank you for being here. It's
Thank
very
you.
nice meeting you. And I appreciate everything that you're doing out there.
Thank you very much.
I
Appreciate
see good things for you
Oh,
in the future.
real quick.
Yeah. What's up?
So I brought 4 coins. I know that I'm the 4th podcast.
Oh,
So I brought a coin for you
that's awesome.
and a coin for every previous, interviewee. So these coins are all attached to the same profile. And if you go there, you'll read the message, which like the whole point of these specific coins are just to make somebody else's day. So yeah, I hope they like it.
That's so great. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem.
There you have it, guys. So if there's a takeaway from this, maybe just try to get out there and do something nice for somebody today. It'll make you feel good too. Thanks for listening, and make sure to join me again for another podcast next Tuesday. If you're feeling generous after this chat, subscribe to the podcast and leave a nice rating on iTunes. I'd very much appreciate it. If you want to keep in touch with me, I'm on Instagram and Twitter at Courtney Diamond, or you can head over to CourtneyDiamond.com to keep up with my blog. And with that, I'm out of here. Hope you guys are having an amazing day, and I'll talk to you soon.